We are back again. I'm your favorite redneck here with the most infamous hillbilly in all the land, Mr.
Yes.
43X. What's going on?
Practicing my Judy chop, kung fu chop.
Kung Fu Chop.
We
Oh
got a
my
good one for
goodness.
everybody tonight, don't we?
It's a
I mean,
great
they
one.
already know. They've
It's a
already
great
seen
one.
the little poster online when they click it. But we have a couple goats. I feel like in pro stop motorcycle
Legends.
legends, goats.
Legends.
They're not done yet, even though people think they are. Like they could randomly come back. Who knows? They might ride
Yeah.
one day. We talk about that. You'll hear about that. Um,
Man, we are
We've known
honored
about
and
this
yeah,
for what, like a couple weeks, kind of been brewing ish, and we just, you know,
pretty
finally got
much.
the finally got the day to do it, and a couple hours almost of just a little bit of Andrew and Eddie chat, just good conversation, just us just talking, asking them, a few little questions about their faves and stuff like that, so y'all can get to know them a little bit. Um, I think it
Y'all are gonna
was
like this. They're gonna like it
Yeah,
for
yeah.
sure.
It was
Now,
just get to know
yeah.
their look, y'all probably are just like me and Ben
Y'all
and
are
sit
over here
back.
like this. Y'all are here. Y'all are putting
Yeah,
these
and
hands
not even
together.
that. Like, you anybody that races kind of looks up to them, right? Because they're elite racers. They do the top contingent class, I guess say in our sport for motorcycle drag racing. And just
Pinnacle.
just to
They're the
let you
pinnacle.
Yes, that's the word. It's
Yeah.
too big for me. Um, they're just like us, man. Like they're passionate, driven, competitive people, and you'll learn that. And it was awesome.
It
You know,
made
at
my
first
day. It made my
at
day. I had
first
a shitty day.
we were just gonna have Andrew in here, and I talked to Andrew last week a little bit, and ended up being on speakerphone, and Eddie got the conversation. Matt was listening, and before we know it, Eddie was like, "I'll get on." So we just got the dynamic duo in here, and I think it was awesome. I talk to Eddie often anyway, for just Vance and Hines Motorsports related stuff, and I get to be a typical pestering customer, and we joke about that a little bit, and so it was good just to sit down and kind of get it on air so people could get to know them like we do, right? So being know them pretty well, and got to know a little bit more, and got some facts and just good conversation, that which me and you and the Red Hill podcast try to push is just positive vibes up in here, and
That's right.
well,
Peace and
yeah,
love.
that's right. I don't know if we'll
Just
get
hearts.
hearts.
No,
Yep, there they
oh, there
are.
it is.
Yeah,
See, that's
we're
all
getting
it
good
is.
at that.
I know. I
Um,
know. Getting all cute.
but I think it was really good, and I'm sure at some point we'll have them back on. Me
Oh
and
my goodness.
Ben.
I can't wait to hear some real stories, some good
Yeah,
stories.
yeah, we could have went. We gave you guys 2 hours, and it was like we just kept triggering other things and carrying on like we do with pretty much anybody that gets on here.
Look, they didn't
I'm
even need to like necessarily go that we forgot to even usually we ask everybody before we do an interview and we're like, hey, how much time do y'all have? And like some people say whatever and some people have a time limit.
Yeah,
We forgot to ask them. We
I'm a
forgot to ask them.
respectful clock watcher. If you
Yeah.
guys have ever watched me, I do this a lot. I look over. That's me looking at the clock.
I was watching too. Yeah, we wanted to
Yeah,
make
just
sure that we
trying to
didn't
not.
overextend it.
Yeah, we don't. I mean, they worked all day, right? And we did keep them on here until 10 p.m. Right at it. So we're thankful for them giving us the time. I don't think it's very common to see Andrew or Eddie in an interview, or taking their time away from the little time they have in the evening from their family. And we got to see Andrew's dog for a minute there,
Yeah.
and his little girl, and that's cool, man, because just like me and you know what I mean. And
They're normal people. They have
yes,
families and pets, and that's
yeah,
what y'all are
so
gonna learn, we think, from this. Look, if you
yeah,
came on, we'll give you the hot spoiler alert right now. Like, it's not a bunch of drama in this podcast. You're just hanging out with me, Dustin, Andrew, and Eddie, and we have a shit ton of laughs in this one. By the way, not safe for work. Sorry, but we have a
yeah,
ton of laughs in this one. Um, we do think you get to know these guys. We do answer some questions and we go over some of the more hot topic stuff as of recent, but
Talk about a
look.
motherfucking spark plug.
Oh shit. Yeah. So
That
look,
was a little laugh in the middle of that deal.
there's
But
good laughs in here, but if you're thinking this is going to be some drama filled
that's not what we
clickbait
about over here.
video, yeah, it just ain't it. But look, y'all are going to enjoy this. It made my day. It made Dustin's day. We both had roughish days. Mine was probably a little rougher since I went and got an X-ray. It's
I think
negative.
every day's a rough day for this old hillbilly anymore. But you know
Gosh.
what? It's
We're
trials and
still kicking.
tribulations.
We're still
Right.
kicking. So yeah, y'all are gonna enjoy this. But first, we got to give away some giveaways because you subscribers are the bomb diggity. And thank you to our sponsors. We got Worldwide Bearings, Monster Race Products, BST Wheels, filled with those Worldwide Bearings, of course. We got MTC Engineering, Brock's Performance, Schnitz Racing, University of Wind, BMF Motorsports, Max ECU and Steve Nichols, Montgomery Motorsports, MPS Racing, Penske Racing Shock, Hard Times Parts and Service, last but certainly not least, DME Racing. Yeah,
Also, Larry McBride. Oh,
and Larry McBride and the
he's
Hulk.
not on the list,
We
but
got
he's our homie.
Spider-Man and the Hulk. Yeah, we got some
Got some Marvel
superheroes.
in here.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Nah,
yeah.
as we told y'all last week, we're excited to have Larry kind of supporting the show. We had him on there, PRI, we show that was cool as shit with him engaged, and yeah, we got some Spider-Man love.
We're we don't realize it, but we're very blessed to have the relationships with all these awesome
Oh
people.
yeah.
Because I'm gonna tell y'all, I still feel like this little nobody hillbilly from Tennessee, and I just now had a damn podcast with two pro stock motorcycle people.
Yeah.
Like, blows
Grew
my
up
mind.
watching these guys race on TV.
Really did look up to them. Really respect them. They deserve the respect because they work hard. I relate to them in a lot of ways. Just I'm friends with so many people. I'm just thankful for all my friends. I appreciate y'all, everybody.
Yeah, for sure. I lost my train of thought there because I was going to say something else, but
Sorry.
we no, you're good. You're good. Uh we also welcome anyone. Like, look, as Dustin said, we're friends with most everybody.
Yeah,
Most
if you want on
everybody.
here,
But
you
yeah,
race
just
pro
reach out
stock
if you want
bikes
on.
and you want to come on here and talk,
Yeah,
come
our
on.
door's open. Just let us know. We'd be glad to have anybody on that wants to talk with us. You just gotta get a hold of us, and that's really all there is to it. We'll figure it
We're
out.
easy to talk to. We talk
But
to everybody.
yeah, y'all enjoy this. It's really cool, kind of just hanging. You're really just hanging out with us and Drew and Ed, and it's
It's
fun.
almost like a Red Hill rambling with two pro stock
It
guys.
really is. It was fun. I had a lot of fun. I needed it after I thought I broke my hand today. So,
Yeah,
anyways, good to go
you've had a
racing.
rough little bit.
Yeah. Um, we appreciate our sponsors, our supporters, our subscribers. A little update. I'm going to check on the t-shirts tomorrow. I think they should be here probably next week. So we're going to be about 2 weeks late on getting those subscriber goodie packs out. But as soon as I get the t-shirts in, I will be working late into the evening every night, packing up your subscriber pack of your t-shirt,
I
koozie,
just want to note that I feel bad
bottle
about that.
buddy. Yeah, because
Ben has been packing University of Win stuff because that batch of shirts come in,
yep.
and
And I got more to do
he
tonight right
well
here.
this is he did, and he's got a good method. He said I'm going to print out 15 labels a night, and I'm going to pack those 15 and just chip away at every day. That's a good method. I wish I had some shirts here because I would
Yeah.
just pack some myself too and help. Because Ben does have a couple bikes that need something done to
They
them.
all need everything done.
I mean, maybe you can like pluck a drain plug out of one of them and then like pack the
I
orders and then go
know.
put oil in it when the orders are packed or
I'll
something.
forget. I got to stay focused on the task at hand.
Yeah.
But yeah, obviously Dustin and I don't live right together, so it didn't make sense to ship him. So anyways, I'm gonna as soon as I get the t-shirts, trust me, it was not some scam. I have everything else sitting here. I have hundreds of bottle buddies ready to go out. So anyways, I'll start chipping away at those. Like I said, I'm gonna email and check on them tomorrow. I'm thinking the last time I looked, they should be here, maybe end of this week, but anyways,
Just one
should
of
have
those
them next
deals.
week.
You're at the mercy of the shirt people, guys. Like if they get
Yeah.
behind a week, then we're behind a week.
But I just wanted to
You'll get
update
it.
y'all. Yeah.
Yeah, you'll
Yeah,
get it. Like
for sure.
we don't need all those shirts. So
No, no, it's
I
definitely
can't
not.
wear all of them. They won't
Oh,
fit me.
last but not least, before y'all get in the interview, our subscribers, we're going to give away some gift certificates tonight.
Yeah, yeah. I thought you was
Okay.
like going to say something else. I'm like, wait a minute, we
No,
got to
that's
give some
it.
stuff away.
Yeah, no, that's it. We're here. Well, where are we at? Now we're here. Can we see it?
Yeah, there
All
it
right.
is.
So we're going to give away, we got $50 gift certificates to MPS Racing in Schnitz Racing. So we're going to give away, oh, I'm not trying to do a software update. Not right now. Thank you, though, for asking, Apple. Did you see that?
Yeah, I did.
All right. Anyways, I'll let Dustin decide. Are we going to give one person both or do two?
Do too.
Okay. That solves it. Here comes winner number one. They will get an MPS Racing gift certificate. We need some Jeopardy music.
Yeah, I know it.
Do,
Do
do,
do
do.
do 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 do
I'm about to bring the
do.
timer down on this sucker.
Yeah, it's a long one, but you
I
know what?
know.
It's random, guys. We don't know what's
Yeah,
happening.
and
It's just turning.
we did the random number generator last week. We're kind of trying to swap every other week.
Oh, she's slowing down. I'm
We're
trying to
getting
like look
close.
ahead, like judging the
I
stripe
know.
to guess which one it is.
I know. That's how we practice, y'all. That's how we practice. I had my eye on something, but I
Looks
don't
like
think it's
it's
gonna
gonna
make
be
it
like
there.
around Kevin
I had
or
Alex. I was
Andrew.
looking at Alex, but
Oh, it's gonna be Brad or Brett. Nope, maybe Brett, Brad, Jake, Brett,
it's definitely
uh,
either. I think it's gonna be
Brett or
Brad.
Brad.
Oh, Brett.
Brett,
Okay.
man, my
MPS Racing.
homie.
There you go.
That's cool. You can use that for
Congratulations.
something, something. Pro Street stuff.
Here we go again. We'll
All
get
right.
Brett that gift certificate, and then we're gonna give away $50 to Schnitz Racing. Man, this thing is spinning quick.
It's so fast. It don't look like it's turning
I
sometimes, or it looks
know.
like it's like trips me out.
I know. I'm getting like tunnel vision. We're,
Yeah.
we're recording way too late.
Yeah,
I'm
I'm
sleep
tired,
deprived.
guys.
I'm like looking into the
I can't.
tunnel.
I don't think I've had a full night's rest in like 3 nights.
All right. Next time we will shorten the scroll spin time, whatever you want to
Yeah.
call it.
I'm guessing around Bert or
I'm guessing around
Charcala.
Greg. Oh, we won't make it there.
No, Bert. You might not even make it to Bert.
Mr. Bob Burt.
On trail. I said Bert. It's going to be right on him if it ain't him.
No, I think you nailed it. Oh, there we
Bert.
go. Bob Burt.
Bert. Very
That's
cool.
it. Cool. All right. We got our two winners. There we have what I tell you. I think we have 70 spots left. 70, 75.
Yeah,
That's all.
guys. Like,
If they're gone, they're gone. You're missing
give me
out
the.
already.
Yeah, you are missing because these two that just now won got half their money back,
Oh
basically,
yeah.
right there. So I mean, you're slowly losing your odds now. You know, we're picking and choosing what we're doing, of course, because we want to save the big stuff for the excitement toward the end.
Some of
But
it.
we're
Some of it.
yeah, some
Y'all are
of it.
gonna miss out on some stuff though.
Yeah,
For
you need to
sure.
get in it. So if you're already signed up and you're like, man, Brett, Alicia wants a spot, you can buy her one. Bob, I'm just saying, like,
Yeah.
I had a personal goal for us to get to what was it, 150. So I'm
150. We're
like,
close. We're like
yeah, if
25
we could
short.
just get
Yeah.
that, like, and then it's just Dustin. Like, I just set goals. Like, I'm just like, hey, if we get this, that'd be great. And we're there. We're close.
Yeah.
I just want to see it. The day that Ben calls me and says that we got there, I'm like,
Yeah. You'll stop hearing Dustin talk about it. How about that?
probably not. But
Then you'll
anyway,
want to get 200. This man just
yeah,
will reset his goals.
yeah, I do. That's what I do. Yep, you're right.
Oh,
You know me
all
well.
right. All right.
All right.
We
So
ready. Are y'all ready?
enjoy, enjoy.
Do you think they're ready?
I mean,
They're waiting for some grenade. They're waiting for a clip pull grenade.
how
Y'all
many
enjoy this. It's
how
fun.
many championships do you have, Ben?
Shit, I don't know.
10,
I'm like
15?
I want to say I haven't won one in a long time, so it might not be double digits.
Oh, let's just say 10, roughly.
I think it's between 8 and 12. So 10.
All right. So 10. So you're
Uh-huh.
about to have a chit chat with uh I don't know, 63, 65 championships
10 of
ish.
which are NHRA Pro Stock World Champions.
That's right, which is a
And we
big
don't own
deal.
none of those.
Now I'm too fluffy for that. I
Fluffy.
have
Shout
local
out to
people all the time
Boo.
like, one day you're going to be on Pro Stock. I'm like, you don't know what you're talking about. because I'm too fluffy for that. Yes, I can ride the motorcycle, but it's not going to be fast. But anyway, these two guys are fast, and you're about to get to listen to
Get to
us talk
know
with
him.
them.
Get to know him. Because
Right.
honestly, we were talking like I was there. I'm sure there is, but I haven't seen a interview with them in a long time that I
There's
can
also
recall.
some little beans being spilled in here
Oh
that
yeah, yeah. There's some cool stuff. Like, look,
new
like we
products
said,
and
yeah, yeah, exactly. There's lots of stuff in the works, and y'all might have wanted some drama and some crazy stuff going on,
oh,
but
this is
this
good
is
for
just
the
cool
sport
chat. Yeah.
stuff. Yeah, like this is what we want to talk about, like new stuff coming out, new
Yep.
maybe not mentioned
Ah,
named, but I mean,
zip, zip, zip
enjoy
it.
the show.
All right. Y'all kick back, relax. We got these two legends on for an hour and a half, hour and 45 minutes. So, like we
Peace
say, peace, love. There it is.
and
Boom.
fried chicken.
Yeah. There we go. All right. See y'all.
All
Enjoy.
right. See.
We are here with two guys that I'm not sure I've ever sat down and watched an interview with. So, Dustin and myself are very humbled and honored, but we are here with 10, count them, 10 total championships between these pro stock motorcycle former racers, now crew chiefs. So, welcome to the show, Eddie and Andrew. How are y'all doing?
Pretty good.
Yep. Excited to be here.
We're glad to
We're
have you.
Yep, we could not believe that we got not one but both of y'all on here, which I guess wasn't a total surprise when we Dustin and I, what was it, Dustin, 2 weeks ago, we're like, hey, we'll do a little recap of the Gator Nationals and we'll ramble on and talk about this. And I think I titled the live feed for that night, Pro Stock Gator Recap or something of that nature. Holy shit. I mean, we get done and I'm like, I didn't sleep hardly at all. I know Dustin's calling me and then Drew's sending out some emails and like all this stuff's going on. Our subscribers, which was great, thanks to everybody, our subscribers went way up. And we were just trying to dissect it all for the next couple days, honestly. But I know we had at least, I think, 6 pro stock motorcycle racers involved or something like that. And then a couple other, I think, were lurking. So we had no clue about that. And then I felt terrible because there was a lot of good stuff in the comments, which was only on Facebook. Anyhow, I've now figured out how to resolve that for the future. So in the case that we ever get 10 random pro stock motorcycle racers hanging out on the podcast, we'll have that fixed. But anyways, talked with y'all a little bit afterwards and we said, can we get y'all on? And here we are.
I think it actually all started in Gainesville. You came by our truck to do a little bit of video promos for the battery side of things and, with Jason and the full spectrum stuff. And then you're like, hey, I got to get you guys on. And nor did we know what was going to happen throughout the weekend with us or in general, just in racing. But yeah, we both committed and, not a problem. It's great. I mean, both you guys we've known for quite a while, and Dustin, obviously, I talk to probably more than I want to every day. But
Yeah,
it's
no doubt.
it's all good. It's all good.
Blame
Yeah.
Spencer for today's.
Yeah, for sure. No, no, you're right, Eddie. You and I talked, and even Andrew. Actually, I came back from the Gators, and I told Dustin and a few other people we do this right, and we don't really know who all's listening. We have people tell us, but like when you hear somebody listen, and look, we're gonna be honest. We're the sportsman bracket racers, always have been, and we grew up watching y'all win on the screen, the big screen. So like it's, y'all are iconic to us, all the pro stock motorcycle racers. We're not just kissing y'all's ass, but I mean it's cool for us to interact with any of them because there's really no other higher echelon in the sport. So anyways, yeah, it was really cool and like you said, Ed, we were kind of planning on getting y'all on and then boom, I guess there's some shitstorm started between everything going on and then just our live feed was pretty cool. So anyways, here we are. 10 championships and now y'all are crew chiefing. What let's talk about that a little bit for a few minutes. Was that a decision, internally between y'all? Did how'd that develop? Was it just something like, hey, we got to get some new fresh blood sitting in this seat, or were y'all just like, man, as Dustin would say, tell them what you would say, they're just ready for a big steak and potato dinner?
Let's ready to get them taters, baby. We got to get them French fries rolling.
I'll let Drew start since he turned into crew chief first. I'll let him start.
Right.
Well, it's been talked about for a long time in our trailer. Eddie and I, when we were getting ready to go up for qualifying rounds or race rounds, whatever, we'd be sitting in the lounge and always got to the point, probably, what was it, mid-teens, 20 teens, Ed, where we were like, how much longer are we really going to do this?
17, 18 really was when we really started tossing it around.
Wow.
But
Okay.
we always came back to the fact that like we didn't want to get off just to not ride, right? We wanted to still be involved. We work on the engines, we do things in the shop to try and make them faster, and we were really at a point where we were racing really well. And that's
Right.
You guys are bracket racers. You have to race as well as you ride. So we were at a point. It was like, all right, we don't want to get off and just throw somebody that's going to buy the seat on and just go out there and race it, right? So we really waited for the time where it was like going to be the we had to find somebody that was going to take the racing seat as well as the riding seat. So
Right.
my deal kind of happened a little earlier maybe than that I would have wanted, bringing Angel on board and getting her on the Suzuki. But I kind of had a realization there in 2021 in Norwalk when I went flying off into the sand in Norwalk and said, okay, if something goes really wrong in a situation like this and I'm in a net tied up and I got my kids at home and I'm laid out for who knows how long, that kind of put things in perspective for me. Like, I'd done so much, pretty much accomplished everything I could more than I ever dreamed of, right? Considering I started a 19-year-old kid, I didn't really know what I was getting into other than just following my brother's footsteps. So,
Right.
It just it kind of came full circle where I was like, okay, I've had enough, and it's time to just focus on making stuff faster. And went through that next year not riding, and then saw Gage, and it was like, oh, this is the guy. So
Talked to Gage today. I was messaging him about some stuff he needed, and I said, "Want to have the boys on the show tonight?" He was like, "That's going to be awesome." I'm like, "Yeah, it should be." Gage is so like confined. You know what I mean? Like he don't really like show a whole lot of emotion. He'll joke around, but he's very quiet, and he was a weapon. Nobody really. I didn't know he could ride a bar bike like he does. You know what I mean? I had no idea.
He could ride a bar bike like he
does. I don't know if it's the way he rides and he's just always rode that way, that when he sit on that thing, it was like no problem. You know what I mean? Like his style is the same, whether he's on his grudge bike, pro street bike, pro stock bike, like he kind of rides the same. It just works for him. And it's impressive.
He showed that style when he was riding Stouffer's bike at the end of 23 or 22, right? So
yeah,
everybody keeps asking, what do you see in the guy? What do you see in him? And it's not just the way he rides it from starting line to finish line. It's the command and the presence he has on the bike from the burnout box to the starting line.
Yeah.
From the first time I saw him, it was like, hey, he knows this motorcycle is gonna respond to what he wants it to do. He's not just along for the ride. So, and seeing that confidence in him, heck, back then he only had 20 runs on the bar bike.
Not even that, probably. It's nuts.
That's crazy.
I think it was 8 when he rode my bike in Vegas. He had 8.
Yeah.
No, it was more than 8 because he's been riding Stouffer's bike since Indy.
Oh well, yeah.
Yeah.
I was keeping track.
He had a tally on the wall.
it wasn't any more runs than Dustin would make in one weekend.
Oh no.
Yeah.
No. I think this past weekend I probably made 20 runs, no kidding, at the local track. So yeah.
That's ridiculous.
It's crazy that he not just because he's my friend, but he does make it look easy. Now I'm sure that the motorcycle and then Andrew tuning and all that stuff really helps that, but he just makes it look easy. He really does.
Yeah, well, he did. He really switched on that next level for me because I lost when I got off the bike. I was telling somebody today, I think it was Richard and our guy Blake, said back when I rode the bike and I was tuning my motorcycle pretty much from 2014 on, by the time I got to the turn off the end of the track, I knew what I was doing to that motorcycle for the next run. Downloading the data was just confirmation of what I felt going down the track. Yeah. So Gage brought that back to me where he could tell me what was happening every gear. and then we talk with Ed, see what his bike did. We just come up with a new scenario, and it all. I knew when we got the Gainesville test in February last year, like the first 3 runs, Gage is like, okay, it feels kind of weak at the bottom of this gear, and then it's kind of laying over at fifth. And by the 8th run, he's like, it just rips from starting line to finish line, and I'm like, oh, this is just going to be way easier, and it lined up everything to where we clicked it off run after run. And at some point during the year, I had to give him bad tuning runs. Like I'd throw extra fuel in it, or I pull timing out just so he could feel it and hear it and experiencing something different than just going,
Wow.
by what the weather and everything said. Like, let's slow it down here and see what he feels. So when it gets to that point where we're off, he knows.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I think where he's, he's obviously a tuner himself. It really helps him come back and report. And I also feel like that Richard's going to be the same way, once he gets some laps under his belt, because I feel like the year that Richard bracket raced a lot and rode Mummers GS and Pro Street, he was damn near unstoppable because he was in the saddle, riding everything and tuning. And that's what it takes, is that rhythm, to stay active, and that'll all work out. That'll all come together. I just got to get some laps versus just basically hitting a qualifier for a test run, basically, is what he had to do, So
Yeah, and we go ahead.
With Gage, we had I think we were counting up the Eddie the other day, like 18 runs on our bike before Gage got to Q1 in Gainesville.
Yeah.
This year, Rick had 2, and they were the year before in Vegas.
Yeah. A different whole place, different whole weather, different time of year, just a lot against you. And it's still done well, right? It still went out there, and he's got to get comfortable too. That those 16 other laps were very, very valuable, and he didn't get them. So I'm sure by the time Charlotte gets here, he'll be ready to rock and roll, or have at least be more prepared. So
Yeah.
Jumping right into a qualifier as a bracket racer, I like to test before I, qualify or race myself. So I know if you're trying to go fast, that's even more important. So.
Well, I think one of the things that basically we ran it over multiple times, is that, we've talked plenty of times on here about, racers and riders, and there's very few that are both. Like, I admittedly am a racer. I am not a great rider. Like that, I've run real street, okay, but like put me on a super stock bike or super sport. Like, y'all want something comical? That would be funny, because I'm just not a great rider, Now, racing, great. Yeah, I'm really good at that because I understand all that. But like we're talking, having somebody that can race really good, ride really good, and then as Dustin mentioned, and having that tuning background and working on bikes, like it's just, I'm sure it's an immense amount of knowledge that, like you said, Drew, they can come back after the run, and I'm sure same thing, Eddie, just come back and say, hey, I think the bike did XYZ, and then y'all can work together. So I'm sure it's, kind of like the old PB&J saying, y'all just had a really good fit with these guys. So that's awesome.
Well, I think that, that's where it goes back to Andrew. That was one of the main reasons why we were hesitant to get off the motorcycle, because we're tuning them and we understand what's going on. After the run, I can go back, me and Andrew will talk about things. And when we're doing that, and then we're looking at computer data, he's looking his run, I'm looking at my run, we can kind of pinpoint where the problem was and look at it. And you may not see it on a graph, but you may understand what it's doing, and then you help transition through that. And that was one of our big things, is getting off the motorcycle. You got to get the right person to replace you. And that's where Gage clicked for him. And we talked about it before we brought Richard aboard. And Andrew and I both like sat back and we were like, all right, if we had to go through and pick everybody here, who would we go to? And we both said Richard, and it kind of became like a natural fit. And, their backgrounds, what they do, where they race, and, they're competitors as well, but now they're teammates. And it's an interesting deal. And it's kind of the same way Andrew and I started back in the day. I kind of got thrown in there, and I got told, basically, listen to what these guys, being Andrew and Matt, listen to what these guys have to say. They'll get you a long way. And they did. And they taught me everything I knew. And, everything I don't know, I still learn from them, so it's an evolution. So I think we're going to see the same thing with Gage and Richard. Terry once told me, he said, I'm bringing you aboard to push Andrew to the next level. He said, so if you move to the next level, I think you can get there. That's going to be, you guys are going to push each other.
Yeah.
And we think the same. Bad news is for Richard, I don't think anybody's seen Gage's next level. It's like Gage is just, the kid is so good and solid all the time. And to your point, there's riders and racers. I think I'm a good rider and I'm a good racer, and I could always put it together as solid making runs. Am I the fastest guy on the bike? No, I don't think. I've always believed I could put one or two. Chip Ellis, we always used to say, was the guy. Like, you want to throw somebody on a bike and get that thing to ET, Chip Ellis is your man.
Yeah,
On the reverse side of it, right? I mean, Chip has struggled a couple times on the racing side, so and I love the guy, and he's been a great teammate for us in times, and a great racer, but we all struggle in certain areas. There's areas I struggle. There's areas Andrew struggles. Mentally, that's the hardest thing of what we all do, is the mental side. And when you learn how to overcome that, I think that's when you become the next level racer.
It's everything we do on a racetrack. The mental part is the worst. We even in bracket, especially bracket racing, like it's all head, mental stuff. But yeah, you got to have your head right. And I agree. I don't know where Gage's next level is, but there's another one somewhere. I don't know how high he's going to have to get there, but I do agree. Me and Ben, as good friends or whatever, we push each other when we're bracket racing. We're always come back from a test run and comparing each other's lights and talking trash, and you know how it is, like trying to make each other better, right?
Yeah.
If you put us together beside each other in eliminations, it's going to be a heater no matter what. Like, we're going to lay it down, both of us. And that's kind of what you should do, is push each other to be better. Before you know it, you look around and you're on a different whole level. You know what I mean? And I can get that. I can see that. That's a good way of doing it. And I think it's smart to have a teammate that's almost like a competitor to push you. And I seen that when you guys announced that Richard was coming out. I'm like, oh man, they're going to be each other's worst enemy at some point. You know what I mean?
In the no bar world, I mean, like, when you look at it in the no bar world, grudge racing, everything, who are the guys going at it? There's about four of them. You got like Little Charlie and a couple other riders that, are in the grudge world that, honestly, I'd love to see him move up the pro stock. And hell, it's probably cheaper for him, some of those guys, than what
no
they're
doubt.
doing. But,
yeah, no doubt.
It's just, it's a different level of racing, and I don't know if it's for everybody, but I really think when there's 20 guys behind you that just put up 15, 20, $30,000, you better do what you do, because you got to answer to them. It doesn't matter if your win light comes on or not.
That's a different kind of pressure right there.
Yeah.
Your buddies just throwing money for you. That's worse than losing their money for sure.
We've talked about that plenty, and obviously that's one thing we tried to hit on too, to try and like maybe the population that's more of the pro stock fan base, but maybe didn't know like Gage's and Richard's background. We've tried to, relay that in prior podcasts as well. Like, look, these guys come from grudge racing. Like, it's not a big deal for them to make one pass or 25 grand or 50 grand. I mean, hell, I think Richard, he raced for like, wasn't it something crazy like $50,000 on a dirt bike last year?
Yeah, it was like 40 grand
on a dirt bike.
He's turning around looking at these guys, and
that's crazy.
It's like, so like to your point, Ed, it's like, well, are they, I mean, yeah, they're probably not used to the amount of people, but hey, if nothing else, they don't have people falling into the staging beams while they're trying to stage. So like to them, it's probably not any more of a pressure situation.
I know when I first did an interview with Richard, I said, we're going to introduce Richard to the world. We're gonna get him out there, and people are like, everybody knows who Richard is and all that, but they don't really. It's two different. It's two totally different things. In the motorcycle drag racing world, we all know Richard. Listen, I remember Richard walking around the track almost in a diaper. I want to say, I really do, because it's like, I've known him forever as a little kid walking around, growing up in the Northeast there at ACO and Englishtown and all these tracks, like him and, another kid's Ed Murphy and all these little guys that were running around that are now all, young men. And it's like, I remember that. And like, right now in that situation, everybody knows in our arena, but
Right.
there's way outside of that. We want to go to the corporate world. We want to go to NHRA and everything because it's great for the sport. We need the two things we really need is diversity. You need men, women, color, ethnic background, everything all different. And then you also need to have personalities. And if you have, like Andrew and I discuss this all the time, and I love Supercross. It's to me, it's the greatest sport. I love it. But every interview is 25 seconds of them thanking a sponsor.
Toyota Escondido.
Yeah, I know where to go get a car if I live in California, But it's like it's just like don't be so bland. Have a personality.
Well, that is where Street Outlaws has went. Street Outlaws have the characters, you know what I mean, and that's what draws people in because you feel like you know them and you like their attitude or whatever. So I do think that's smart. I think that having, well, you guys kind of have it. I've watched you guys race for years, and both of you act different on camera. Like you have different personalities, of course. Even like, well, perfect example, Steve Johnson. Lord have mercy. He is a character, right?
Yeah.
I love Steve to death. I love hearing his interviews because you have no idea what he's going to say. It's almost like John Force, So, and that's what makes it entertaining. And perfect that you have two different styles of personalities on your team riding for you. In my opinion, I think they both talk differently, handle themselves differently. They're just different, and that's cool. But they're both really good riders, so it's going to work out, I think, well.
Well, yeah, go ahead.
Going back to that grudge racing deal with Richard and Gage, that just trying to talk Terry into who we were hiring. One of the big questions was Drew was like, what background do they have? Like,
what have they done?
What kind of pressure are they going to be under when they're out there racing for the final round of the U.S. Nationals, whatever? I said, Terry, there's decent money in pro stock motorcycle, right? But these guys are racing for way more on these single race runs than anything that they're going to go up against during an NHRA season. So
they're winning championship money in one race.
I told them, I said, that the least of their concern is going to be on some of their races is the money, right? It's like, what's going to happen when I get back to the trailer if I don't win this thing? So
yeah. I mean, that's probably the most pressure, right? Is just trying to make sure that the team's happy, do a good job. Even for me, this past weekend, I shit the bed in the semis. I come back and I was like, man, I'm sorry. I told my old lady I was sorry. She's like, why are you apologizing to me? I'm like, well, I always want to win for us. Like, that's what we come here to do. And I made a mistake. She's like, well, I ain't worried about it. I'm like, well, hell, if you ain't, I ain't. Shit, let's go home.
Yeah, Richard was worried about his 008 red light there in Gainesville, but we're like, man, it's, you didn't get a fair shake at the tree because you went right into qualifying, got no test runs. You couldn't see where you were because we got one run on Saturday. So, typically our mindset is come off the truck, make a good lap Friday, figure out what you're doing second round for tuning. On Saturday, it was like find your spot on the tree, right? Like see what you can push it to, and then you adjust it for Sunday. So we never got there, and he was worried that we were upset at him or whatever. And it's like, no, dude, you didn't go 60 red, you didn't go over 100 on the tree,
right?
Yeah,
you just didn't find your spot yet. So
yeah, 008's just a bad perfect light. You know what I mean? Like it's just on the wrong side of the barrel there a little bit.
Eddie had LE in the other lane. So
yeah, which is a champ, right? And a Vance Hines motorcycle he's sitting on, so he knows.
Just finished building the bike that week.
Wiring it. I remember talking to him on the way home at like 8 p.m. one night. He was heading home from wiring it. So, fresh bike that you guys just did. So, there was a little pressure on him, and I think it was more or less just him getting comfortable. Like when you get comfortable, things come easier. And the tree just lit, bam, and there it was,
Yeah, I mean, we kind of passed our knowledge to him and explained to him the situation on what we think is the best way to attack it. And then after he thought about it, he's like, I never really approached it like that.
Yeah. And so you're done teaching him things.
Yeah. So he's going to start learning. Exactly.
Yeah. That's what it takes.
I think it's knowledge. It just takes a little bit to get, his big thing is he doesn't want to disappoint us. Right. So we just want him to go out there and know, he knows how to do it. That's why we picked him. We're not going to have to tell him how to do it. He knows how to do it.
Yeah. And I think I think you're right. Like he don't want to, let people down, and that's okay to have that. But when he goes out there and just does what he does, he's going to be just fine. And then everybody's going to be happy. That's the way I look at it. And, I mean,
it took me on my motorcycle the first time going around. It took a year and a half. Like Byron always explains it to us. He's like, you got to get to that point that you're excited to throw the clutch lever away. I mean, literally, I could tell you, there's people that have been in the class for 5 years, and if they didn't have a tinted visor, their eyes are going to be wide open, clutch away, because it's like you're just
yeah.
you're fresh, you're new at it.
yeah.
Right? Or you're just not there yet. And when you get to that point that you're excited to throw the clutch lever away, you have a great motorcycle under you, have confidence in everybody around you, it changes your demeanor, it changes your mindset, and it lets you just do what you need to do. And when you get to that point, you become a machine. And honestly, I mean, that's where Gage became. He got there so fast, it's just crazy. And that's why we say he's special. There's just some natural talent there. Some people, it may take 2 years. It took me a year and a half before I got to that point. And I'm not going to sugarcoat it. It took Andrew riding my motorcycle in front of me to show me that there's nothing wrong with my bike for me to get back on and do it. And that's really what it took.
Sometimes that has to happen. I think that didn't Gage ride Kelly's bike once to just show that it's capable. You know what I mean? Like sometimes people need to just sit back and observe.
She went out there and cracked off a goddamn 70 at 202.
Well,
right.
I mean,
later.
Yeah, you're 100% right. We talked about that a little bit earlier, but it's something that Dustin and I preach on weekly, and in our online bracket school. And I tell them every day. I tell anybody that wants to listen, I'm like, look, you want to wake up tomorrow and throw a 95-mile-an-hour fastball or dunk a basketball? I can't teach that, and you probably can't learn to do that. You have to have a certain level of genetics there. It's like, you want to learn to bracket race and win? Dustin can teach that because it's not special. But if you didn't have anybody, to be a mentor or just tell you these things, people don't realize that it's teachable, and that's why we end up doing it. But it's 95% mental, and I can go back. Heck, I was telling the students, this one year I had a lot going on with life, and y'all know how that is. I mean, you're dealing with life. This is a mental sport. You're up there trying to do a burnout and you're thinking about, a girlfriend over here or paying a bill over there. I mean, like when you can't concentrate, which is completely absurd, because when you get down to the nitty gritty, we're only actually trying to concentrate for, 15, 20 seconds, I mean, basically from the burnout on. So probably 60, but
That's a minute. We say it's a minute.
Yeah, exactly.
Give me a minute. It's all I need. It's a minute.
You got a minute, and then when you
say that a lot.
Yeah. Oh goodness, yeah, we could went somewhere there. Like, give yourself that good 60 seconds, right? But then you really only have, by the time y'all pat somebody on the back or get patted, I mean, you're talking 10 seconds of focus. But even then, we're human and we still make those mistakes. Dustin makes mistakes very rarely. I make more mistakes than him. And just like y'all are saying, it's a mental thing. So I see exactly your point, Ed, in that, developing and getting that familiarity and comfortability on the bike. Sorry, I'm struggling through those words. Getting through that, it's fluid, and then you're not thinking about it. And that's what we tell our students, like, get a routine together, practice that routine, get used to that routine. And the next thing you know, you're not thinking about things, and
all natural.
Then like you said, it just flows. And that's when you're kind of at that level, I feel like, of just getting everything flowing.
Yeah, no doubt.
Ed, how Andrew told us a little bit. So what was the final stepping stone for you to get off? Just finding that person? You were kind of following through.
Steak and potato.
Yeah.
Heck yeah.
Somebody said ice cream? Cake? Where's it at?
Oh, don't give Eddie ice cream. We don't give it.
I'm lactose intolerant.
Oh snap.
Ice cream ends in like an 80-mile-an-hour car ride for about 5 miles back to the hotel.
Oh goodness.
No, I mean, it's kind of similar deal, once Andrew got off, it was like, okay, when you getting off? And, like we have the conversation. It was more about finding the right person, who are we gonna get on the bike, who are we going to have confidence in to go out there and race. And, for me, I was the guy doing a lot of the R&D and testing over the last few years, where we were trying parts on my bike and just kind of tweaking some things and going through it and getting to the package. And then, after we kind of knew Gage was off, I mean, man, I should have retired a year earlier because I didn't want to retire. It's like, if anybody wants to be pissed off about the rules, it's me, because, he whooped my butt like 6 times, whatever it was, in the next lane. And it is what it is. But I really think I would have had the 5th championship and 55 wins if Gage never came out. But
Yeah. I mean, even saying that, like, that's a perfect example. You're sitting beside a teammate that has everything that you have, and you're still getting outrun, right?
yeah, I mean, here's the fact of the matter. I will tell you is Gage got on. I went tested and went a string of 73 to 75, multiple times over 200. I got off my bike. It went a 105.7 60 foot in Gainesville. It was 105.7. Gage got on it, and what do you go? 104.1, one hit.
4-1. Yeah, we put all the weight on it. It was that weight, and
Yep.
instantly. I mean, it happened the same thing in Vegas testing at the end of 22. Ed went like 4 106s between Saturday and Sunday, and Gage got on it and went 5 104s in a row. It just what he does to that motorcycle. It works really well with our clutch package and
the chassis and everything else.
Chassis, it's all set up. I mean, the bike's got to be set up to be there, right? I mean, Gage, like we were talking, Gage doesn't make a bike go 103. He makes it capable of going.
Yeah. I mean, well, that's perfect to hear, because he was on your bike, which is the one that Richard's riding, not the one that Angel had rode. You know what I mean? So it's a different whole motorcycle. So
and it was proof right then and there. Like when he rode the bike the first time, we looked at it, and I'm looking at Drew, and we're both looking at each other. We're like, it went 104.5 or something the first lap, and we're like, this thing will go 103, no problem. I'm like,
yeah, and it does.
A little power. So seeing that and knowing, I was like, okay, we know we've got the right guy getting on the seat and going into the future. And for me, it's like, I don't have anything to prove. We've been talking about it at the shop for the last couple of years. Like, okay, once we get this, like Andrew said, we could sell the seat. There were lots of things that we talked about, but at the end of the day, I think it was about giving opportunity and getting the right people for us, not just selling the seat. And like I said, I feel I don't have anything to prove. I don't have any, I know I could race. I know I could ride, I could do everything, but the challenging side of it really is the tuning side. When you're not on that motorcycle, it lets you see it. It brings a whole different challenge to your plate. So that's what intrigued me. And I went to Gainesville and never even had the itch to get on a motorcycle. I didn't even think about it, to be totally honest. And I enjoyed it. I had a good time. I'm looking forward to this season, because I think with Richard, we're going to, like you said, we're going to make steps. Everybody's going to push each other. I think it's going to make a solid team. And for us, it allows Andrew and myself to also focus not just inside our camp, but outside our camp. We're looking at what Pro Stock Car did, right? So let's be honest. If KB Racing or KB Titan, I should say, or Elite got out of Pro Stock Car, there's 16 cars going. So what do you do? It's a bad situation. But we wanted to try to, expand on our stuff. So we started all talking like, okay, the only way we're going to be able to do rental bikes is if me and Andrew are tuning the motorcycles and not on the motorcycles. Because you can't ride, tune, work on bikes, and make all the right calls. It's not going to happen.
You spread yourself too thin.
Yeah. So we all talked about it, and we are trying to put a 4th rental bike together. We've got lots of interest from people. We just haven't had the opportunity yet. And then we also have Kelly Clontz, which is kind of Vance and Hines house bike. And, she owns all her own stuff. I don't want it to come across the wrong way. She owns all her stuff. It's her race program. She can do as she pleases. She chooses to come to us and allow us to tune it. So that's what we do. So, Andrew and myself work with Kelly. We're working with LE. We're working with Richard and Gage. Me and him collaborate. We've got 4 laptops that sit in front of us, and we collaborate. He downloads the runs. I download my runs. We put them on each other's computer. We share all the data, everything there. And it just makes us stronger. So if we could offer another bike to somebody that could potentially go and sell a program, there's lots of opportunity, I think, for sponsorship.
Right, right.
Not always lots of opportunity to have a motorcycle to go race. We're not trying to be that guy that you're going to go get a license with and go practice and get that. We want to be the guy that when you feel you have a championship opportunity potential program, you can come to us and say, hey, I want to rent that motorcycle and go after this, because you're going to have everything that all 4 other bikes have in our pits will be in yours.
Yeah.
LE was running the engine gauge, set the record with that, prior year, crushed it the whole part of the season.
Yeah.
Triple zero.
What's that? Yeah, 000.
Triple zero.
Yeah. Yeah.
That was
I mean,
a workhorse last year.
yeah, I think I kind of figured that. I think we might have talked about it before that, you're going to step back, work on I guess you'd say work on the business, right? You're working on making Vance and Hines. Everybody's getting like they can buy your product, sit out there. If they want to pay you to come race your bike, whatever. That's how that's a good idea. I mean, you both found good riders to take your spots, I guess you'd say. And then you just move forward with the business and let them do their part. And then you're going to do your part. And it sounds like potentially it could be 5 motorcycles that you guys are tuning. So you'll have another laptop if you get the 5th bike.
Well, I mean, I'll be honest. I'll say it on here. Terry's said to us multiple times, I'd love to have 2 semis in the track with 2 bikes, our 2 shop bikes with 4 race bikes on out of the other one. And me and 4. Four?
Yeah,
what? 4, and I start laughing, and Terry's like, "What, Ed?" And I'm like, 4. Like, you realize what you're saying? That's 6 total plus our customers, and he's very ambitious, Terry, when he gets going, and he loves the sport and he loves this stuff, and me and Andrew are just a part of it, and we're glad to be a part of it. But yeah, ultimately, not everybody thinks like we're riders. We don't, what do? We show up at the racetrack with our helmet and go racing. No, like Andrew's in the shop. He does all our CAD, all our engineering, all our design. That's what he does all day, literally. And I'm telling you, it's a 16-hour-a-day job. Me on the other side, I handle most of our sales, product development, new parts and pieces, all that stuff comes out of my side. We collaborate together. We have a great team at the shop. We have, there's a GM at the shop now. We moved, promoted within, took the guy Raphael that works there, and he's now the GM, and there's lots of things, but we need opportunity to free our own time up, as we call it, think time.
Right.
To where we can have the opportunity to work on expanding and growing the business and, doing lots of things. And, it's not just all about racing, but the problem is we are racers and we love it.
Yeah. Well,
yeah, you're racing under a business, so you got to do both. You know what I mean? So the business has to work to keep the racing going too. So,
well, I had a question, but you literally steamrolled right through and answered my question before I could speak on it, because I was getting ready to say, why don't we talk about what y'all actually do as a day job, since everybody just thinks, you get to just show up on a private jet and, jump on a motorcycle and race for the last, decade or however long. So never mind, because you answered that very, very clearly and specifically. I mean, Dustin, I've told, kind of for the last year going over, we try and recap, like we said, the pro stock motorcycle races when we can and find time. And, we tried to educate people, because I feel like that's a little bit of a false thought, or however you would call it, is that I feel like especially people that are like really new and green to the sport, they just look at pro stock motorcycle and immediately think like, I want to be that rider, that's the job. Right. And I don't think a lot of them realize that there's actually very few that all they do is ride. So anyways, I was going to get into that, but you answered kind of what you and Andrew do on a daily basis. And that's working there at Vance Hines Motorsports and, designing products, selling products. That's why Dustin and you have existing relationship. A lot of people don't know we're not just secret fanboys or anything. Dustin talks to Ed daily because he
drive him crazy
with him. Yeah. I mean, I send in cylinder heads, not as often as Dustin, but I've had y'all do some for me. And then me personally, I know Eddie and Andrew just from working for a long time with Jason at Full Spectrum Power. So, you know, we have existing relationships. But it's just, you know, we try and educate. Also, that kind of gets away some of that stardom dreams of, and hopefully, this is my underlying thing of educating people. Hopefully, you know, Ed, you get one less email and I get funneled one less email that, hey man, I'm trying to be a professional racer. Will you sponsor me? And it's like, what? Like, what are you talking about? If we can, you know, calm those emails down a little bit, you know, I think we've accomplished something.
You know, for us, it's this is our passion, all of us, in this chat side of things. You know, it's like that's our passion. That's what we love, and that's what we do. I mean, honestly, I could talk probably for a couple hours. We could probably do 5 shows
Oh, for
and
sure.
be okay, you know. But it's just something that Andrew and I love. I mean, that's how we kind of became partners in this whole deal together. And he has my back and I have his on anything. And you know, we try to support each other because it's just we love what we do and we have a great time. And you know, that's the fun side of it.
I mean,
Yeah.
Andrews sit down and basically design body work that I've not heard not one person say they didn't like it. Like, I mean, Richard was talking about how great the bike rode and how the body work was like nothing hits when you turn and it's so nice. So he was sitting there designing in a 16-hour day, like you said, trying to get probably more than that on those days when you were developing the body work. But I mean, you guys, you know, Suzuki, as Steve Johnson said, Suzuki wanted Gen 3 body, and you guys raised your hand and said, we can make it happen. And look, it's there. It's beautiful. I mean, those bikes, when you see a Gen 3 Busa street bike and you see your new bike sitting there, they look so close. Like it, you know, back in the past, they really didn't look exactly like the street bike, but they really do. You guys did a really good job of making them look. I guess Andrew done a really good job of making it look just so similar to the stock bike that it's impressive.
Well,
There's a
hell,
lot of work behind
for
it.
the longest time, there's, you know, everybody's been racing bikes that aren't even made anymore and stuff
Yeah.
like that. And it's like, how are you relatable to that? And Eddie, I think you hit a really good point too, especially looking towards the future and the growth of keeping this class around, which has been a big topic lately. But looking at the positives and the future of it, you know, you're right about the sponsorships because for 1 year I raced some side by sides. I needed a break from drag racing. And I'm
Mhm.
telling y'all what, I mean, you guys know because you guys are Vance Hines Motorsports and you're immersed in it. You know, I know you do so much like you mentioned with motocross, supercross, stuff like that. So you see it, but like for me coming from such a drag racing specific background and going into side by sides, and I'm seeing Polaris factory racers where their job is to race and Can-Am factory racers and like all this money and stuff being spent. And I'm like, holy cow, like you know, I didn't even know that was a thing. Going back to us talking about pro stock motorcycle racers, most of them have jobs, you know, but to go over to that little side and you know, kind of get a taste of that and just seeing it, it was really cool and refreshing, you know, to say, hey, this is what the big times looks like. And there's still, you know, niches in motorsports and all that can grow and get those big sponsorships and you know, like you said, get the money and names in here. So I think that makes a lot of sense what y'all are trying to do and put together to achieve. And you know, having heck, I was excited to see Revzilla. I have plenty of friends and sponsors that I buy most of my parts from, but I've bought some stuff from Revzilla and I can only speak highly of them because every time I've bought something from them, it's there like the next day or 2 days, and I've never had a problem. And I think I've even returned something from them, and I almost never return shit. I am so bad at returning stuff. If I get something or if I don't even use it, I just
I got 2 or 3 things right there that's like
yeah, I
shoot
mean, it's like,
by
is it
Christmas.
worth my time or hassle? Usually I'm like, F it, it's not even worth my time. So but yeah, no, it's really cool to see some new names getting into sports. So
We
you know,
need it. We need, like, you know, Suzuki stepping in, and I would love to see all the brands have something involved, in my opinion. I think it's good for it.
I,
Get
I
little competition.
I mean, my two favorite body work out there is really now it's a Gen 3, not because we designed it, you know, but it was more or less. I mean, that was kind of a project Andrew and I worked on for better half of 7, 8 months. And, but I really think the second best looking bike out there was the Rob Muzzy ZX14. I think it just kind of looked like it. And really, I mean, we need to resurrect that stuff. And, I see all these people saying modern power plants, this, that. What everybody doesn't understand really is we've taken this engine. It's now kind of Andrew's baby, created billet cases, everything. It's kind of morphed into, it is a specialized power plant. Our inline 4-cylinder engine, once you use our billet cylinder head cases, everything that we have is actually a universal engine. It is labeled. So if somebody calls up, if Honda calls up and says, hey, we want to turn that motor into a Honda whatever, no problem. A lot of people don't understand the processes that it takes to make that happen. NHRA is not going to just say yes. You need to go through the process. You got to have manufacturer letters. It's a long road. It's actually, you got to start right now for 2025, because you got to have approvals in place by, what is it, Andrew?
June 1st.
June 1st. So if you don't have it by June 1st, 2025 is not even an option.
And you can get told no after spending a lot of money developing something.
Oh yeah.
And
or you can get delayed a year.
Well, that's funny you mentioned that, because I got told a little thing about Harley when the Harleys first come out. The first design was double overhead cam, right? On the Harley, wasn't the first motor, or is it maybe the push rods were short or something and it got shut down?
Our very first design, no. Well, go ahead.
Oh, one of the Harley engines. Somebody told me once, and that's why I'm asking you, because I don't know if it's true or not.
It might be debunking myths.
Yeah, they said that the first Harley engine was like the first engine that Harley wanted to use for pro stock motorcycle wasn't accepted, and they had to redo it, and then the push rods were too short or something.
No, that was the third generation Harley motor.
Okay. There was a motor that a lot of money was spent.
It happened. It legitimately happened.
Yeah, and then they said, no, that ain't gonna work. That's just something I got told. I'm like, well, see, right there tells you got NHRA is dropping the handful.
The 10-second story of it. It's pretty simple.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that was October of 2012. They told us that we weren't going to be able to use that current engine anymore for 2013 going forward. So that was that October.
That was the
October, right? We got to go.
Four-valve dual overhead cam motor. The 4-valve dual overhead cam motor was being outlawed.
Yes, then we had to go racing in March the next year. So we're talking 5 months, right, to redesign an engine. And they thought we were just basically going to sit out a year. So we took the first designs at that point to Pomona. I designed a head that the cam was in the head. It was still low enough to be considered not overhead cam. Had a 2-inch push rod in it, and they said no. And then that's when they came out with the 8-inch.
In December.
They only told us that in Pomona, and then right, we had until December 15th to get the approved version to NHRA, and that's when they came back to us and said, no, all the engines need to have an 8-inch push rod. Well, when they said 8-inch push rod, that took our old 2-valve out of the mix, because that one had a 7.5-inch intake push rod, and it had an 8.5-inch exhaust push rod. So I've literally had to design an engine in 4 weeks to give.
It outlawed both of our engines. It outlawed our previous engine that we thought we were like, okay, we could start the year with our old engine. Well,
right.
Yes, Russian dreams.
Nice getting that CAD going. And,
I'm about to say that was some long days right there, pushing, trying to get that done. No doubt.
Well, that was where we got back to the shop and got with our machine shop guys and said, here's the deal. We have to rebuild this. We were able to use the cases. We didn't use the cylinders. We redesigned the cylinders to hold the cams in that location. But we sat down with our machine shop manager at the time and said, here's the deal. We got to have this engine running and ready to go to Gainesville in March. And he looked at us and he said, guess you're going to miss Gainesville. Yeah. That's not the attitude to have in our shop. So.
By the way, he's not our machine shop manager anymore.
Yeah. That should have been a yes, sir, right? And just carried on. Let's get it.
So we ended up getting the whole deal done, got the designs done. We're getting cam gears off to the the blanks and everything off to our gear grinder in that amount of time. And long story short, that engine fired up on February 23rd.
Wow.
And we made 32 dyno pulls before we left for Gainesville. And that first test session we had at Valdosta before that was like, you would have thought we won the championship right then and there. We wouldn't have had a stake. We went 688 on its second run, and it was going to be competitive. It wasn't going to be a race winner, but it was enough to get in the show. Ultimately, we qualified 5th and 8th, and I think we lost in the second round. But it showed we were there to play. We weren't just going to go.
You didn't get defeated before it even happened. That's
we didn't go crawl and hide, and we worked on it all season long and got it better throughout. So
yeah, you got some trials and tribulations thrown at you and pushed through and made it happen. And that's what people need to hear is all the hard work that you guys. That's just thinking about it. Now you're probably like, oh hell no, I ain't doing that. Like back then it was. You were riding and you had that drive and you had to be there. Speaking of billet cases, I mean, I think we need some Busa ones. I'm just saying. I've mentioned that Spencer would probably buy a set for sure.
Might come down the pike. You never know. We've talked about it. There's lots of cool stuff we want to do, but it's time and money is what it comes down.
It's very hard. Yeah. And a lot of money wasted to develop it. You know what I mean? Like if something ain't right, you got to chalk that one and do something else. The coolest part, I think, for even the GS cases is just the cartridge style transmission. And that's the coolest thing for a Busa would be that. You know what I mean? Just to yank them out the side.
That's been a lifesaver just for last minute peace of mind. Like, should we change the transmission or not? And I've been telling people, especially like Gary Stouffer and stuff, I'm like, man, if you're going to have a school bike or teach somebody how to ride, if you don't have, you really need a set of billet cases because new riders junk shift forks, right and left.
Oh, yeah.
Trends, so, it would save your day being able to just pull it out the side, throw some new shift forks in it, and send it down the track instead of having to take the motor out, split the cases, and this and that. So
that's why I think it'd be a good thing to have for a Busa. These grudge guys racing for these big money races, they bend a fork and around. They could just do it easy versus trying to do it. Have little tiny hands to do it from the.
I'll tell you who's the most excited right now is Brad Mummer.
I was getting ready to say, Drew. I was getting ready to say, Brad is just. Doing this.
So at Virginia, I watched them pull their motor 3 times. God. I'm like, man, they need a set of billet cases, and they got some right after that, So they made it happen. But I mean, he is very excited. He is. I love Brad. I've always loved that motorcycle. Like it's old school, right? And that's what's cool about it. And you mentioned earlier about people saying that the pro stock motorcycle should be different. People. If you're listening to this, pro stock motorcycle is exactly what it needs to be. That pro stock motorcycle started exactly the way it is now. There's no reason for it to be a stock motor, anything, street bike. There may be one day another class. I think me and Eddie talked about this a little bit on the phone once. Like there's a possibility one day that there could be a different kind of class, but pro stock motorcycle as it sits is exactly what it should be, in my opinion. That's the way it was created. That's the way it is. That's the way it's going to be forever until it goes away.
The holdover comes from stock, right? Back in the day, they were using stock cradles and stuff like that. And pro stock car is the same way. There's nothing stock about it.
And pro stock car is exactly what it should be. I mean, that's it's honestly. I mean, I know people like the stands fill up when the fuelers go up or top fuel and funny car. Dustin likes pro stock car and pro stock motorcycle. Yeah. That's what I want to watch. And maybe even some pro mod, that's what I want to see.
One thing, like people were harping on, we need to have modern technology engines in pro stock motorcycle. And it's like, well, I think ours is probably one of the most advanced that's ever been built because
you damn right.
What people don't know is I started kind of with the Hayabusa architecture. It's got the same valve angles as the Hayabusa, right?
Yeah.
People probably don't know that because it hasn't really been advertised that way, but it's the stock valve angles of a Hayabusa.
It looks like it. You can kind of tell.
Yeah, it's narrower than like our old 2 valve was, right? Yeah. And it also has finger followers, which a Hayabusa doesn't, but a GSXR 1000 does. So we're kind of hybridized everything. The only thing that I think people think it's not modern is the cam chains in the center. It's not on the end like all the modern four-cylinder bikes, with having the cam chain on the end of the motor. So ultimately it makes it harder on us because how the head.
You got to pull the cases apart to do a change, y'all. Yeah. Speaking of that, other day when we talked on the phone, we were talking about other things, and then we got to talking about the podcast. So there had been some talk about you guys had mentioned to me about offering a crankshaft to Matt right out of his motor, like right out of your motor. You offered him a crank right out of the motor that Gage run, correct? Didn't
Yep.
you do that? Okay.
We did, yeah.
So that's something that we talked about. And I just want to make sure that everybody gets to hear that. Like, I think that was a good gesture. Like you said, hey,
Dallas test session. We talked about it and told them
go into it, Ed. Let's just like shed light on that right now.
I mean, really, it was the Dallas test session. We tested Gage's bike. We were breaking in the crank, brand new crank, 3 runs on it. Went out there. What did he end up going? What did he go? 72?
74 or something like that. Yeah.
74, something like that. And we told Matt, you know, if you think there's something wrong with it, we'll pull the crank out of this one. You can pay us the labor for doing it, and we'll put it in there. You know, we'll give it to you to run. And you know, we try to be as transparent with everybody. I mean, listen, it's a business for us. You know, so first things first, we're not that stupid. We've been doing this 45 years that we're going to sell somebody bad parts. We've got a lot of customers. Integrity behind that. It doesn't matter. Listen, if you go out there and you kick our butt, I'm going to shake your hand and say thank you, good job. You know, thanks for the butt whooping. You know, it is what it is. That's the one thing that's different, I'd say, with Andrew and myself. You know, if we see somebody else doing it, we just sit back and talk about and say, okay, how do we get it to go 103, or what are we going to make it? You know, what's our plan? What's our attack? And come up with reasons. You know, you got to figure out, like, how are we going to make this happen? So at the end of the day, for us, whether it's parts, pieces, now, are there things on our motorcycles that we do not sell? Absolutely, 100%. You know,
competition, right?
It's R&D, development,
yeah,
things like that. You know,
yeah.
There's 2 different customer bases. There's an engine build customer, you know, somebody that comes in and just gets a basic spec, moves about their business. There's another one that we call an engine builder's kit, which you can buy ahead with no porting, no cams, you know, just blanks if you want blank camshafts. Or you can be the full-blown engine customer of ours, where you buy in and you're basically part of our R&D process. You're investing in us. When you invest in us, we're going to invest in you. So there's like 3 different levels there total. You know,
that's something you pointed out the other day, that you guys are always R&D and on your own motorcycles. You're trying stuff to find stuff, right? Like, that's part of this game, is you're always looking for an edge over everybody else.
We're updating the customer's engine now, right? We're updating the customer's engine, and what he says, you know, what the person says to me is, hey, I just want to make sure I get the most current stuff. Well, yeah, you're going to get the most current stuff as of today on that spec of what we're doing. But we don't stop. We're going to probably lose 3 to 5 horsepower on the dyno before we pick up 2 or 3. So you don't want every spec we do.
No.
And, you know, we got to track test it. We got to prove it. You know, it's kind of interesting because sometimes your best dyno motor is not as good as your best racetrack motor. Yeah. And, you know, it's combinations. Things are different. I mean, the one thing I would like to say Andrew and I are probably most proud of this past winter was we believe we finally have 6 racehorses in the trailer. You know, all 6 of our engines are identical, 100%. And that's because we've changed so much stuff that, you know, we're testing and each part and piece, and not everything's the same. And then you look at each other and say, well, is that one really faster than that one? But that one had the good parts in it. And it's like, joking around when I was walking around the shop, he'd be like, you'd drop a valve on the ground, he'd be like, oh, put that in Ed's. And you know, and I'm like, yeah, give me all the loose, worn out junk stuff, because it always run really good.
Yeah. But you could build 10 different engines, and there's going to always be one that stands out for some reason. And it might not even stand on the dyno. It could just be on the track.
Andrew can tell you what he spent 1 month doing. Well, it wasn't 1 month. It was basically 4 days we spent, me and him total. He was dynoing most of them. I was helping him. And we ran through 7 total cylinder heads and engines. And
no, it was 10 cylinder head changes on 1 bottom end. And then, proving out 3 more bottom ends right before Indy last year. we kind of used that month of August just to kind of see where we went with all the how we, because Gage had one engine spec that we were running for a while. Then we'd throw a different one in Ed's bike and kind of see the comparison, see if Ed got closer to Gage, and then put that spec in Gage's bike and see if he goes faster, because we had to keep up with the weight they were throwing on us last year too. So
yeah,
trying to just go down that road of making sure that we weren't going to get behind, quote, because
you got to stay ahead of it.
Yeah, we were pushing full throttle all last season. We wanted to win that championship really bad, and it was at the expense of us going fast and getting hit with weight. But we just kept working and working, and really a lot of credit goes to my dad, because he was just pissed off and wanted to just crush everybody. So,
but that, the
Don't poke
after
the
hours
bear.
and all the hard work that you guys are talking about right now is what champions are made of, right? That's how you get championships. I know one of the old sayings that I've always said is championships are won in the shop. You know what I mean? Like that's where they're won at. It's spending the time of making sure everything's maintained and nothing's going to let you down. And it still happens, of course, but the preventive maintenance, or in your case, chasing
both
horsepower.
of our families went on summer break, on vacations, gone for 2 weeks, stuff like that. And Andrew and I were in the shop we're like, well, we got no wives and kids, well be here. So we were from 7:30 in the morning to about 8:30 at night. And I mean, we did it for 2 weeks straight, nonstop. And at the end of it, we were ready to roll the Indy, and we were like, we think we're prepared. Like this is one of the first times we're pretty set on what we got.
And then the damn spark plug breaks in India.
That's just the way it is, though, right? Like it's always something stupid, something little, the cheapest part on the bike that's going to cost you something.
I'll tell you what, when I saw flames blowing out of Gage's bike at the top of first gear in the exhaust pipe, my brain was spinning. Like, what the hell is that?
Yeah. That's like something Spencer does on his nitro stuff.
Came on. We're like, well, maybe the two-step came on, or maybe it tried doing some weird Revelander check or something.
Yeah. Well, that's another thing, like in the ECU, is one wrong stride of a keyboard, and boy, things can get serious in there. You could really make a boo-boo, so destroy a whole run over just clicking the wrong box.
That made me think of Indy when we were racing for that big money race in NHRA. Remember, and I had that shifting issue. I had a swipe problem, on the keypad or whatever. It turned on the shift to a on off instead of a button shift. So I'd go out and it's like, what was it, 4 passes in a row? I shift first gear and then bang it right into the rev limiter second gear every time. And I'm like, what is wrong with this motorcycle? It just ran. And then 4 passes in a row. First gear it shifts, bangs right into second. I'm hitting the button, and just by dumb luck, realized that, I would say fumble if effing through some stuff and accidentally swiped a drop down on the ECU using a max, and boom, turned my shift button into a off on and not whatever it needed to be. And I was
all you had to do is just hold it, man. You'd have held that button, you'd been fine.
yeah. So
a little pro tip for you: all our computers have the touch screens turned off and all the swipes turned off on the mouse pads.
See, I knew as soon as I spoke this that I was going to get a tip. See, I'm learning too.
Yeah.
I'm learning too.
Never have any of that stuff turned on. Next thing you know, you're doing an update and you don't even realize it.
Oh,
gosh,
no. Yeah. Mine's always in airplane mode. Always. It don't get to do it. It's a brick.
Yeah.
But the reason to turn that stuff off is because you probably got screwed by that before.
Oh,
you know what I mean?
Yep. Especially touchscreen. Somebody's like trying to point out something on the graph. Next thing you know, you're like, you just added 15% of fuel in there.
Yeah, we don't need that.
I'd give you 1 or 2 other tips, but I don't want to tip people off on how to do that.
Yep. No, that's
still
enough.
Competition here. We gotta keep it square.
Well, I feel like y'all pretty much just breezed over it. But yeah, I was just gonna bring up, I'm Joe Blow and I want to buy an engine, and it sounds like I have 3 options, from what you just said, Eddie. So
there is honestly. Our cylinder head. We got our Pro Mod package. We're actually just finishing that up. Obviously, Brad's been running it. He's kind of improving it out and doing some stuff there. And Richard will be back on his bike again this year, so that'll be cool to see. Richard working on that. Who knows? We may even go to 1 or 2 of those things just to kind of check it out And
You just now triggered me.
Oh yeah, I know what's coming
I wouldn't
next.
care
Y'all
to
do
see
too.
some FO60 racing with you two out there. I'm just saying, we could get you out there in 460, having a good time.
Ready. I'm ready.
Oh,
let's go.
Oh, I can make this happen. Like I'm calling Boo tomorrow.
Oh, man. Boo was all over me last year. Every time he saw me on the starting line, it was like he was really ripping to try and get me with John Hall and all those guys out there. It's like,
yeah.
I told Boo you don't want
like a tough pull.
Well, I mean, as a business, I think it would be cool to see you all out there racing. I'm just saying, like this, for the people that's there, how many people at the racetrack run your stuff already? It would just be cool to see yous making laps with us. So I'm always pushing.
I almost thought about doing a pro mod. We talked about it. We've kicked it around a couple times, like, is it really, but now when they change the rules of the class and stuff this year, it kind of turned me off. I love that nitrous stuff, nitrous versus nitrous stuff.
Right.
Oh
right.
yeah. Yeah.
It's hard parity with turbos, man. I mean,
oh yeah.
Let's all be honest. Turbos are the I own a turbo car, and not that I ever drive it, but it's like the turbo side of stuff. Like it kind of wrecked the sport on how easy it is to make horsepower.
Yeah, it's insane. It really is.
Yeah, and just reliability, everything. But we're racers at heart. Just because we're not riding doesn't mean that we don't love it or we're not wanting to do it.
Oh yeah,
that's
take
why
me
we
to
got a spot. That's why we got a spot.
That's exactly right. Because I mean, Jason Miller was on here last week, and I was like, "Hey, you want to race? Like, I can put you on one of my bikes." Like, I'm always pushing to get more people. I mean, well, obviously you guys could do it, but it would just be cool to see, So
we just want to see Andrew Hines and Eddie Krawiec on the results sheet of XDA. It makes us.
Results. Go ahead, just say it. Just say it.
No, that's not what. It just
I would
makes
love
us
to see you come
special.
win. That would be awesome.
Yeah, it makes us feel special. Hell, I know what Matt came out and raced a little bit, right?
Yeah.
I know Boo was riding his ass too.
Oh yeah,
like hardcore.
Yeah, Boo will push you.
Most people don't want to really realize what we do is easy. I mean, our job really was to knock down the tree, hit it as hard as we can, and make a good, clean run down the track. When you throw in a bracket racer or somebody that you like we're talking mindset, you got to understand what you're doing. You got to know what's going on. You got awareness is like a key. Shorten it up and go 8th mile race. And now you're really talking, you better be on your game because, you got to hit the tree. You got to think about, do I got a wheel on the guy? Do I got to give it up? Or am I going to give him the stripe or am I going to take it?
There's a lot of things going on.
Yeah, I mean, it's like I bracket raced for years and I did it and I loved it, but man, that's hard stuff.
It's challenging. It really is. It's one of the hardest things I think in drag racing, in my opinion. Other than I really truly believe that tuning and trying to milk a combo is very difficult. And there's a lot of wins and losses with that as well. But a bracket race, you could just screw it up yourself. So easy. It's just like, man, my dad always told me you have a split second to make a decision and you got to make the right one. And I messed that up all the time. Like it's just human, like we're all human. I messed it up, this weekend. I was behind 2,000 at the stripe. It happens,
Yeah, we're talking 2,000, this and that. And I tell everybody, it's like, we're doing a high speed math/physics problem, doing whatever your speed is. It could be 150, it could be 190. Like that's what you're doing, when you're out there bracket racing and stuff.
I mean, one round, I was 1,000 better on the tree than my competitor. I took 007 stripe to break out 2,000. Like I had to take 5 or less.
Yeah,
you can barely see 7. You know what I mean? Like
you can see 7, you're doing all right. Because
I seen it, but it was too much.
That's like we said, we're trying to teach that stuff every week. 460. Wow, talk about a class. That class has completely exploded.
And they sponsor it. Vance Hines sponsor.
I was pretty sure that's what I was gonna say. And y'all have been sponsoring it for a few years, right? Or maybe the whole time. At least recently, and to see so many bikes come in and I mean huge. 40, 50 bikes trying to qualify. I got a little taste last year. Speaking of a man named Boo, because Boo called me on speakerphone with John Hall one day and said, "Hey, why don't you come race 460 next year?" And I said, "Why and how?" He's like, well, Max got this bike. We all think you'd be good. And I'm like, I was like kind of humbled at first, but I was kind of also like, what's the catch? Because I had John Hall and Boo Brown calling me, and then Max chiming in too, like, yeah, man, you'd be great at it. And I'm like, well, I appreciate that, but I don't know if I'd be that great. I've only ridden a couple slow bar bikes, but it goes back to what y'all were saying in transitioning from being, racers into this now tuning role. It was ultimately I did it because I just want to do something different.
Mhm.
Much like y'all, and this isn't on y'all. This isn't on Dustin. We've actually had to people tell us like stop apologizing, so we try not to. But we're not ever trying to brag on here. But the point of the matter is like we've won a lot of shit, and like it. Does it ever get old winning? No, I don't
No.
think at the end of the day when you're the last person there, like the last MFer, as I like to say, and like you can be like, I beat everybody else. No, that doesn't get old. But if I win 3 Pro ET races or 3 Gambler races this year, like I've won them before. Like that's not different. So to me, going into 460, I'm like, that's cool. I want to see what that challenge is, and it was a challenge. I'm telling y'all, I I had to like try to do that like the Men in Black minded race. I'm like, has wheelie bars. Do not ride, you cannot ride it because basically you ride it ass backwards of how I'm used to riding. So I had to try and
Also,
retrain.
460 is a huge tuning thing. Like you have to always be watching the
Oh
weather,
yeah.
having the bike, you trying to be dead on all the time. It ain't like if you go up there for like 560 index, which I race, I can wing that. I'll figure that out. But you only got 4.5 seconds basically on the other one. You ain't got a lot of time to wing it. you gotta
Yeah.
ride and then make a decision. So it's tough. It's an awesome class though. It's
Yeah.
huge. It takes probably 2 hours to run that class now.
It takes a while because it's so many people, but it's
Yeah.
great to see that growth and excited to have companies like Vance and Hines sponsoring it. Tell us a little bit. I mean, you've kind of touched all around it, but y'all tell us a little bit about what Vance and Hines Motorsports, like what's the core, maybe 5 things that y'all primarily focus on. What is it
Well,
like
I'll tell
Supercross?
I'll tell you one thing that probably most people don't even realize. Like one of our biggest markets is the micro sprint world. Um,
Okay. Yeah.
so like you were talking, going and riding, racing side by sides.
Mm-hmm.
We're in the side by side market. We make exhaust for them. We do the Yamaha YXC 1000. We've got some other exhausts that are done out of California as well. But for us, I mean, really, I mean, our big area is the cylinder head department, and we do
Mm-hmm.
cylinder heads for, oh man, I mean, just about anything and everything. We've even done some car stuff, some factory stock stuff. We've done a
Okay.
couple other, because they're 4 valve engines. I mean, I'd like to say we kind of like specialize in the 4 valve side of things. Supercross is huge for us. The dirt bike single cylinders. Um, Going all the way road racing, drag racing, whatever it is in the cylinder head world, we do. It could be one cylinder all the way to, heck, I've got one guy that I'm talking to now. It's 2JZ deal. He wants us to do something, but lots of cool stuff. But for us, it's about the park side of it, engineering, trying to give people the options of a package. The Hayabusa side of it, our valve springs, our
Right.
valves. That's a big line for us. Was trying to grow the valve. I mean, being a cylinder head company, it's like we were getting so many products from everywhere. You're getting stuff from this person, that person, that person. So just kind of step back, take the view, and say, all right, why don't we try to bring some of this in house and improve it to the way that we were doing it? Like when you get our valves are not just a standard valve. Most people usually would have one back angle on the 45, and that's it. Our valves have multiple angles on the back, stuff that we've learned through pro stock technology. It doesn't cost the customer anymore in theory to get a valve done the right way versus a valve done the wrong way. And I'm not knocking anybody's stuff out there. I think everybody has all good products, but for the amount of time that you can do and give just that extra little bit of an edge on stuff that we've learned throughout the years, it's the trickle down effect. It helps us justify and say, well, this is why we're running pro stock, because these technologies we can, adapt. Valve jobs, is another
Yeah.
perfect example. A valve job years ago was a simple, they used to call it a 3-angle valve job, where you'd have, 3 different angles on the seat, and then you'd have a 5-angle total with 2 angles on the valve. Now we're well past that. It's full radius. It's stuff is done on a single point valve job machine. We now have a Surdy single point that it basically contours through your whole entire seat range. It gives you better flow, low lift numbers. I mean, it's kind of like the best of both worlds with it. So, for us in that and exhaust development, I mean, we're always trying to raise the bar and do better things. And for Andrew, his side of it is the engineering side. He wants to offer cool products, throttle bodies, everything. So I think we're going to expand over the next year or two. We are, Vance and Hines is going, and Andrew's going to be the one spearheading is into the billet crankshaft business, one piece cranks, so we're going into that market. We're tooling up now. It's literally going to take a year and a half to tool up and to get us to that point. We're into it almost a year now, and by the end of this year, it'll be a year and a half. So we'll have most of the equipment in-house to make billet crankshafts, but we're buying all modern state-of-the-art equipment.
You mentioned throttle bodies. So you going to start making billet throttle bodies?
What do you mean start making? We already make. We run.
So you make like Busa billet throttle bodies?
We just cover them up. So maybe when you walk by this, we'll just let you see one of the shiny parts.
Well, I mean, what I was getting at was like, is it possible to get Busa ones? Like, you do Busa ones?
Ask Andrew that.
Busa billet throttle bodies, sir? Because I know an Amish guy that needs a set.
It's on the docket to be worked on here pretty quick. So
all right, well, that's good to know. I hope Spencer listens to this, and probably all other grudge racers will be calling you too. So
yeah, we're working on a lot of that.
That stuff needs to be there because I mean we're out here with huge heads using stock throttle bodies. You know what I mean? It makes no sense.
And we got a couple of guys we're hooked up with pretty good now. That'll be our test beds. So
good deal. Good deal. You do. Yeah, you sure do. One of them won a grudge race this past weekend, I think.
Yeah.
Didn't he?
but that's the fun stuff, man. Getting to work on that it's like it's kind of like we touched on it earlier. You want to race a different class because you could go bracket race all day in street ET, pro ET. It just becomes the same thing, right?
Yes.
So
yes.
Get a different flavor in there. So for Andrew and me and stuff like that, like working on the Hayabusa stuff and doing all that, it's a breath of fresh air is the way to say it.
Something new. Yeah. So that's something I was wanting to ask both of you. Like, what is your favorite thing to do at the shop? Which is a weird question, but I just think
what's your favorite thing to do at work?
Yeah. Like what, like everybody has that one thing at like when they're working. That's like, I like doing this.
I'll go first. I'll go first for y'all. I'll set the stage. My favorite thing to do at my job is to click send on an invoice. Send.
Yeah.
Send. Well, I love hitting that send button.
If Andrew does CAD, he might like making like a new product. It might get him fired up, like something new. I mean, Ed gets to talk to me, so that's probably his favorite thing.
He's like, that son of a bitch is calling again. That guy's cylinder is not done.
It really depends on, I guess, what time of the year it is. There's we don't just do the same thing every day, especially early season. Like this year we were building a new bike. So that's a breath of fresh air when I'm not sitting at my computer desk all day long for
exactly. Yeah.
Getting in there and grinding carbon fiber and, teaching Richard how our way of building a pro stock bike and the fit and finish. And, that was kind of funny. A little backstory there. I'd walk into the room sometimes and Richard just be sitting there like I just built this. Like he just think like he was in awe of what we were doing on building those things. But I still get a kick out of if I design a part and then if the machine shop's busy on the CNC mills, I'll just go whip it out on the track mill or a lathe or something.
Oh, really nice.
Get back to I grew up in that shop, so doing everything that my dad taught me on a lathe and a mill, and even ripping engines apart when Blake's busy and we're thrashing between back-to-back weekends or whatever. It's nice to go out there and get your hands really oily and get away from the computer.
See, that's me. Like when I'm a final assembly on the engine, that's my happy place. Like I love that. Like I hate all the crap before that, but the final assembly, I can dig it. I always post a picture when I'm ready to put the head on because that baby's done. It's basically throw it on there, degree the cams, show over. You know what I mean? Like it's just, I mean, everybody has things they like doing, especially when like for you get away from the computer, go get your hands dirty or help throw a bike together. And anybody that works in a shop, the moments when you're working with somebody and you're joking and laughing is always the good times, right? Like no matter what you're doing, if you're in there with Richard, doing the carbon fiber and you both probably got carbon everywhere in your nose and everywhere else, and you're just laughing and just working. I don't know how many times I've been in the shop with my dad at his salvage yard and just laugh about something silly, and it's a good memory. So no matter if you're at work, there's always highlights, and it's all about who you're doing it with and if you're doing what you like doing. So Ed's might be a little bit more difficult.
No, mine's pretty easy. It's taking orders from Matt Smith when he sent. Should I post some of them? No. For me, it's kind of like Andrew said. It's getting out in the shop and listen. I'm at my desk 8-10 hours a day. I get there at 7:45. I don't go home till 6:45 usually. That's a day for me. And it's taking orders and doing all that. But I really like getting away. And the one thing that I don't do that often is get to work on the bikes and do that. Like anytime Andrew and I, like the same thing, like Blake, if he's busy out in the shop doing engines and I got to go out there and tear it apart, I kind of like put my phone on mute and go out there and work on the engine for 4 hours, 5 hours. And it just helps get everybody else caught up. And that's the nice thing about, we're pretty universal. We all don't have one job. It's like, we've got to go to the shop and do a bunch of different things. Like Andrew gets it. As much as we hate dynoing, we love dynoing. It's like, because it's like, okay, all right, tip into it,
Yeah.
And, but I really enjoyed getting to work on the bikes that we built this past winter and having that opportunity to be able to put a bike together that when you step back and you look at it, I really think the bike that LE is riding, I think we raised the bar on that one. I told Andrew and Terry and all that. We stepped back. I was like, I don't think we can build a better motorcycle than that motorcycle right there. Now,
Ben said that.
I've seen it, and it is beautiful. It's
literally
should have been like on the. You guys should have finished that, all looked at it, and then just put it on the shelf. And
these guys hound me for like I'm laying the wire harness and I'm zip tying, and then I go and I cut half of them off. And it's just like when you go and you lay stuff out and you're looking at it, and then you're like, no, I want to run the wire this way, and it's got to go this way because it's got to run through here. The thing is there's so much time that you can't charge somebody for, and that's what I really want to be specific about. Is everybody says, hey, can you go do that real quick? There is no real quick. Because at the end of the day, like, we need to make these motorcycles totally functional to where they can be worked on. More important, if you have a problem, you can tear into it real quick. You can trace where everything is. You need to know where it goes. So it's like there's so many thought processes that are in it that when you look at it, you're going to say, well, I could do that better, or I could do this better. And every time you kind of adapt to it. And I really think on that bike that we did, there are a couple of little tweaks I would make, but man, I think if we were building a bike like that, it's almost perfect, honestly.
That's the mold, right?
Yeah.
After you do a few of them, they get better and better always too. You know what I mean? Like you learn, oh man, we got to do it this way because we done this one time and it was a pain. You know what I mean? So it's just this practice basically, and the knowledge of knowing what happens.
I'm sure we'll find a better way the next time we build one, because when we built the bike Gage is riding now, which was Angel's bike, and then we built Corey Reed and Joey Gladstone bikes at the same time, we thought these are the best bikes we could build.
Yeah. Right. Which is, that's just honestly, you're just getting better. You know what I mean? Like that, you're learning what, not to do. You know how it is, especially when you said you have an issue. You're trying to fix the problem, and you're like, man, I wish this bar wasn't right here. Or whatever, the wire wasn't rounded this way so you could see it better. So many little things. And the only way you can learn that is just do it one way and then take a note when you go back to do it the next time not to do that. So I feel like everybody has like favorite jobs at their job or whatever. Ben's is obviously click and send on an invoice, but
yeah, because I most of my stuff is after the fact. Even with our communications business, we bill after it's done. So I'm clicking send. I'm excited.
That means the job's done.
Shit's already done. Whether it's my marketing or our communications, the work's been done. So when I click send, like, I'm happy and confident because it's done. Now pay me. pay me for the work I've done. But look, I know it's getting later, and we don't want to keep y'all because obviously you guys work your asses off. I had a couple more quick questions I want to throw out there. Um, do you guys have
I'm
a
getting away easy. I don't have to put my son to bed tonight. Usually I'm the one that down, so my wife is doing it.
yeah, well,
You're welcome.
yeah. Well, that too. But I was gonna say, as a new father, I've gotten out of that pretty easily because every time I put him to bed, like I fall asleep. It's like
Yeah.
probably the only time that like my brain is not running wide open. And Dustin will tell you because there's many times I call him at 11, 12 o'clock at night. I'm like, man, I had this idea. And he's like, go to bed. Like, what the hell is wrong with you? But like with him, it's like just this total calm, probably because I'm trying to keep him calm, and boom, I'm out. So she just gave up. Now she's like, don't even put him to bed. You're just going to fall asleep, and I got to wake you up in 30 minutes. So, anyways, is there, I know it's going to be hard, but is there one win that stands out for y'all? Like,
Go ahead, Drew. You got one?
it doesn't even have to be if you're riding. I mean, it could have been when you was growing up or whatever. But is there one that just really stands out? Which I know it's hard to pick because y'all won a lot of shit, as us rednecks and hillbillies would say.
Yeah. I got two. I know two that I could.
Well, you better go ahead while he's trying to like sort through his
One is
Rolodex.
So of course, I mean, we all want to win our hometown race. So
Oh,
I've
yeah.
had the fortunate side of winning Englishtown, and like having all your friends, family, everything. I grew up there. I mean, that was for me. It was like after that win, I honestly could probably say I was done. Like I actually did my job. I think I was 40s. Not that 40s is great on a tree, but I think I was 30s and 40s all weekend long, and I may have went like low ET each round. And I kind of sat back and I was like, that was it. Like
Yeah.
I solidified it. And then the other one is it's not necessarily a win, but it's a trophy for me. And I always say it's sometimes it's not the ones you win, it's the ones you get, stuff like that. But it's my Dave Schultz wallet. That was I got to meet Dave in 1995. That's what really got me involved in motorcycle racing. I was working at the racetrack. I was delivering our UPS packages. I brought a fender over to Dave Schultz, and Dave showed me how he mounted it and used fuel line to kind of space it, and showed me a bunch of stuff. I went out that next weekend. I got a Honda CBR F2. Yeah, F3. F3 it was. CBR.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So
third generation Hurricanes, what that is.
Yeah, so I got one of those, and then I started going to the race. Like I worked at Englishtown, so
Right.
I started racing motorcycles. And when I realized, like, heck, I could go into tens on this thing that I just bought for $5,000. And I mean, don't get me wrong, I had a cool street car. My street car was a '79 Camaro. It went 1220s when I was driving to high school. It was low 12-second car, high 11-second car, driving it. And then I got the taste of like going into tens, and I went into tens on the street bike. And then I actually the first Pro Star race I ever went to, I rented a 600 Super Sport bike from Ricky Gatson. I rented Ricky's bike, and I went there and like learned and kind of understood what Pro Star was at the time. And that was in the late '90s. And I did that, and from there on is what got me involved in what I am now. But I'm forever grateful. When Dave passed away, his wife Meredith sent me Dave's 1995 Englishtown win wallet.
Oh, wow.
So that's awesome.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it was about like I want to have like my own Englishtown win volley. That's what really put the drive in me. And I bought Dave Schultz's bike that he was building when he passed away. I bought that, and I ended up getting that. That's how I got into pro stock motorcycle racing. I let his son ride it at the 2003 Indy US Nationals. He qualified, Brian Schultz. He qualified number 16. The event rained out. I went to Richmond, and I ran Richmond Pro Star, and Brian went back to the rain out. He red lit on gel first round. It's like, I mean, I can tell you all those stories.
Yeah.
It was the one Gino ran in 2002, his championship year. I bought it in 2003, picked it up in Gainesville. We put that in a bike, and Brian and I was going to go race pro stock motorcycle in 2004, and unfortunately Brian got killed in in a tragic accident. And that was kind of what paved my career. But for me, it was the drive of wanting my own Wally. And
Yeah.
National Event Wally and Pro Stock Motorcycle. All the guys at Englishtown, one specifically, Wayne Paul, WP, he used to call me the Pro Stock Motorcycle wannabe.
Well, take a look at me now, huh?
Yeah. But that's the history. That's what's behind it.
Yeah.
Change a thing, nor is it different to this day. Trust me, I never forget where I come from. So for me, it was really that Wally that I got from Meredith after Dave passed away that set me on my drive to go get my own Wally. And to win the Englishtown Wally at that time forever solidified, like, I achieved all my goals. I don't really care if I won a championship, anything like that. At that point, all I ever wanted was one win. And everybody says, well, what about your 50th? But if I get my 50th, I'm going to want my 51st. So
yeah,
not important. Like, to me, I got my one, I got my championship, and I got to do this for 15 years, like full time on a seat. Now, am I going to come back out ever? Maybe. You never know. Andrew, who knows? If he wants to, maybe he will. But I think that's what it's about. It's just, when you're at peace in your head,
yeah,
you say, like, I ain't got anything to prove to anybody out here.
That's a powerful thing right there.
Then there's no reason to do it. I just want to be a part of it. We're both team players. Like, I just look at it as I just enjoy it. I just want to do what I enjoy. And if I can do that and never work a day in my life, I'm good.
That's it. You're preaching right now. Come on with it.
All right, you've had
Andrew's
some time,
turn.
Andrew.
I think Eddie used up all the time. No, I mean, for me, honestly, it's the cliche thing. Your first one you remember the most, but with what we had going on that day, Gainesville 2004, winning that race, winning the semifinals was probably the bigger thing because GT Tonga, teammate at the time, he won the semi right in front of me. So that was like massive pressure, right? He's in the front already. Yeah. I got Willie G and the whole family standing on the starting line. And it's like, all right, I got to go do this now. And at the time, I'm like, 20 years old. So I don't really know the full gravity of the situation. But, I remember going down the track and turning that wind light on, knowing that when that light turned on, we were guaranteed the win for Harley, whether it went to GT or myself, right? And I could literally hear the roar from the crowd over my bike in the shutdown area with all the wind noise. So wow. That was pretty surreal. That was awesome. That was a big celebration. And like I said, it was a cliche thing. It's my first one, but I remember that absolutely the most. I mean, you could probably see there, the picture behind me on the wall up there is circle from that day. So
that should have been easy to figure out. You could have just looked behind you.
Yeah, exactly. But another thing that sticks out for me is my dad got one Wally win in NHRA on his Yamaha in 92 Topeka.
Okay.
And that was, I was only 9 or 10 years old at the time. And now looking back at that old footage and seeing what he did, he beat John Myers and Dave Schultz back-to-back rounds.
It's a big deal. Yeah.
The only person to win on a Yamaha.
Byron's actually the reason that there's a rule for 2 spark plugs because the Yamaha had 3.
Y'all in these damn rules.
Yeah.
Oh.
So I mean, thinking back on that stuff now, it's just there's a lot of memories. I'm a fan of the sport. I'm a fan of the class. I grew up around it, right? I remember having rubber band wars in the pits with John Myers. We'd shoot rubber bands at each other all the time, and walking in and out of Dave Schultz's trailer as a young kid, they were like family, So,
yeah. Well, I was about to say that earlier that Eddie was describing family. You know what I mean? Like that's what it is the racing community is sometimes better than real family. To be honest, sometimes it just depends on the type of family it is.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, there's times, there's a lot of camaraderie out there, right? There's times there's media stuff flying around and we may not see eye to eye with what certain people are saying here and there. But I mean, hell, we've gone top golfing with Matt and Angie. We've gone go-kart racing with, half the class at this place and there. And it's just, when we're up there on the starting line, whether we're racing or tuning, it's tough. It's a tough game and your game face is on, but we can all shut it off for the most part when it's time to go have fun and do something outside the sport.
That's what the media needs to be catching right there is y'all racing go-karts. That'd be epic.
Oh, man.
Yeah,
I'll tell you what, Matt's pretty good on a go-kart.
Yeah. It's that whole thing though, it's like you don't really realize it at the end of the night, when the lights are out.
Oh yeah.
People are usually hanging out at the backs of the trailers, all hanging out and they're bullshitting, right? So everybody's just having a conversation, and it's 9 times out of 10, it's nothing to do with racing. Like
absolutely not.
Everybody needs to understand. Like we're not there talking about racing. We're there talking about other things, whether it's our kids, what's going on at home, or your dogs, or whatever it is. We're all humans, and it's the personal side.
Speaking of the dog right there.
Exactly. That dog doesn't like me. He tries to bite me every time.
He just got barked at you. He heard your
Goddamn
voice.
Malawads, you gotta be careful with them. Those things are serious.
He might not like people from New Jersey. That might be what it is.
But I mean, that's the thing. We all at the end of the day need to get along, and it has nothing to do with the racing side of it or anything on that side of it. The reason why is because it's all for the better purpose of the sport and to push the sport forward. Like, really, I mean, there's a handful of us that all make a living at what we do. And if people didn't pave that ground for us, then we wouldn't have had that opportunity. We need to continue to pave the ground forward rather than trying to break it up apart. And it's the people that when they try to break it apart like that or cause problems,
that's not even there.
Not good. Yeah, it's just it's not good. Whether you think you're doing good or you're not, and you're causing controversy or whatever it may be, it's not good, because you need to build it, and more important, make more people interested. I'll tell you, I mean, my little guy, same thing. He loves Supercross, and he goes to the Supercross races, and he goes and he waits in line to do stuff. I mean, I was that little kid at the drag races. Andrew was that little kid at the drag races. We all were, whatever it may be. It's those little things when you're kids that you remember. And I mean, I could tell you, I know 2 or 3 pro drivers that snubbed me when I was,
Yeah, you don't forget either.
But I always remember that. But, it's our job as racers to pay it forward, move it forward, and keep paving the road, as I'd say.
Yep. You couldn't have said it better. That's what we love about getting people on here and talking like you guys talking. There's no drama, but the right person can make it. You know what I mean? So going and riding racing go-karts and playing Top Golf and all that good stuff. It sounds just like what me and at XDA. We all just hang out, have a good time. They might be having drinks or whatever, eating, whatever. Of course, I like that part, the eating part. But just hanging out and having a good time, that's our favorite part of a race day, is after the racing's done. That is our absolute favorite part, because we've been racing for so long. The racing we're still competitive, but it ain't like what we can't wait to do anymore. The best part is just cheering your friends, telling stories that probably has nothing to do with racing, just like you were talking about.
Well, I was just going to say, I told Dustin when I got back from Gainesville, and it then some shit happened, and then we had a podcast and so on and so forth. I was like, man, that's wild, because here's 2 big trailers parked, literally right across from each other. I see Matt ride up on a scooter handing y'all, like run sheets and this and that. And it's like, no big deal. Like, no, nothing. Just so
they're not pushing each other off the scooters or anything.
yeah. So, anyways, I think that was a pretty good kind of ending. I mean, we could look, as you said earlier, Eddie, we could easily talk for many hours, many episodes, and we would obviously love to have y'all back on, because first off, y'all have a tremendous memory. Y'all going back, and Eddie, you recounting all these little things here and there.
No. Let me explain. No, Andrew has a way better memory than me.
Well, look, I know he's coyly over there just listening and all, and he chimed in quite a bit on the live podcast, but Look, I guess I've drank too much. I've killed too many memory cells because, like, look, as Dustin said, he likes to eat afterwards. I'm the big class clown that everybody gets to talk about the next morning. So Brad will
name
tell
is
you about
Darnell.
that. Yeah,
Darnell.
ask Brad before y'all got those transmissions. Ask him about Darnell. He'll be like, man, that son of a bitch come by at 1:30 in the morning, pulling beers out of his pocket, donuts out the other one. Like he can tell y'all some stories. So anything else y'all want to say before we end tonight's episode, which everybody will listen to here soon? That's it. I think that was a good ending.
Yeah, I mean, I'm good.
Okay, well, we'll get y'all back on when we find some time. Dustin and I are tentatively, well, not even tentatively, we're planning on coming to Charlotte. We need to get down there and hang out a little bit more. So we're looking forward to coming down there and watching y'all race, because ultimately we're the little kids right now. We're just looking up to y'all and having fun, and it's just really cool that we know people like y'all and most of the pro stock motorcycle racers. That's kind of that kid thing coming true. And just telling my dad about it, I was telling Dustin the other day, like, it's really cool that I go home and, I grew up at the drag strip racing cars, and that's how I got into it with my dad and family. And then it's like, he's never not been an avid fan. And he's always, did you see Gage do this? Did you see Eddie do this? And blah, blah, blah. And I'm kind of chuckling. I'm like, yeah, I actually texted Gage 5 minutes ago. You want to call him or something? And then like, look, hey, I don't know if y'all noticed, by the way, one last thing. Me and Gage were bullshitting last year, right when I got married, and he was giving me shit, and he's like, thanks for the invite, asshole. And I'm like, dude, you got to work that weekend. And he's like, well, I could get a plane ride in. I was like, you ask Uncle Terry and you're invited. Bring everybody if you want. I don't care. And he started laughing. I said, just do me one favor. And he said, what's that? I said, it's just really small. Just shout out me and Tiffany on national TV. And he's like, done. And I'm like, no way.
Yeah.
Anyhow, like, we get married, all the hoopla, blah, blah, blah. The next week, I'll be a son of a bitch if he hadn't said it and somebody sent me the video. And I was like, that's the coolest thing ever. So anyways, we appreciate being able to chop it up with y'all. I think this is awesome, because everybody else is just going to see the people that don't know y'all. I mean, we're just having fun and chopping it up, and y'all are awesome. And we appreciate everything y'all have done for the sport. And people might say we're brown nose and kissing ass. We don't care. It's our podcast. We'll do what we want. So we appreciate y'all taking the time to join us this evening.
Sure, I'll talk to you tomorrow, Eddie.
Yeah. Hey, can you send this out for me?
Yeah.
Yep,
I hope it's like, hey, I got them valves in. And I'll be like, yes.
Man, I'm telling you, if I would be a lot of people's heroes if I could.
Yep.
Yeah, I know it. You was talking about the valves and the springs earlier. I'm like, they're so good. We ain't got no more. We've sold them all.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, I've heard a lot about that. That. All right, we'll let y'all
guys.
We'll let y'all get on. It's about 10 o'clock. We got to let everybody know we're working late, keeping these guys up late. So we'll see y'all in Charlotte.
All right. See you guys later.
Thank you.